we're going back to basics and doing what is most people's like first terrain project, which is like rocks. So let's get rocking. Uh, I'm sorry. Hello and welcome to another episode of Blastercated Painting. I need some rocks. I don't really need them, but they're nice table filler. Also, I need some ponds and some puddles for harefoot jousting. So let's do those projects together. And yeah, let's go. First thing we're going to do is take a bunch of styrofoam chunks that I just have laying around so I don't throw out excess styrofoam. And then I'm going to cut some MDF into sheets. This is just really thin chipboard. I guess it's not MDF, but maybe. And then I'm going to bevel the edge with the knife. Please be more careful than I am, because you can cut yourself quickly. And then I'm going to just start shaving these rocks down to a shape that I like. So obviously we don't want too many square, flat pieces. Maybe some, but we don't want it to look square and flat. So I just keep shaving and brushing things off, obviously, until I kind of start to get happy with the basic shape. It is very easy to end up with a much smaller rock, and then I'll start taking gouges out of them and roughing it up and just treating it rather poorly, I guess is the way to look at it. I use my fingernail to gouge out some spots, and I'm just trying to make it look organic. I'll take some tin foil here and just rough it right on up. Then I'm going to add some basing paste that I make myself. This is a messy project, so yeah, get some gloves. And this just goes all over the base. We keep it as much off the rock as we can, but seal the sides so we don't have any gaps. And yeah, that's all you have to do. So it's probably a good idea to tell you how to make that basing paste. It's pretty simple. It is a jug of stucco, sand, glue, paint. That's it. And you can tint it whatever color you like. So I usually have a cottage cheese container that I end up using, like just any container that you have left over that you can seal. Put in half a thing of stucco, pour in a bunch of white glue, bunch of sand, and then color it whatever color I want. In this case I chose black because that's just a good color for ground that I can use for anything. So yeah, I don't have any exact measurements whatsoever. I just kind of eyeball it, and then once you put it on, it usually takes 24 hours to dry. So just let it dry, sit there, and watch a movie or watch Lord of the Rings trilogy twice, and boom, it's dry. I will also take some sand and just to make this even like more sandy while that stuff is still wet, I will just start sprinkling on sand. I guess maybe I should have put more in the stucco, but this is fine. I can just sprinkle it on after. This stuff is going to be like glue, so just shake off the excess and it'll harden on there. Now this one I want to add a pond feature on, so I'm going to leave a clear spot basically, and then I'm going to take a damp brush and push that stuff aside because it will not stick to the brush as much if it's damp. You can kind of clean off that area underneath as well, and you can just push it to the side and kind of make where you want your pond to be. I'm going to take some brown paint here and some school glue. Now mix those two together and that makes sort of a protective, like a Mod Podge black paint sort of thing that a lot of these crafters do. But I'll use brown paint and glue. It'll work relatively the same and it won't come out glossy. Sometimes Mod Podge comes out very glossy with paint, but yeah, here we go. I'll take some cashmere tan next, and the reason to use brown is that's our first base coat. Done. And we'll cashmere tan dry brush all of the land areas. Makes it easier if you start with that brown color. Then I'm going to take some green paint here, and I'm going to dry brush this on the rock. I know that this is going to seem like something you don't want to do, but let's just do it anyway. I'm going to take some yellow and red paint. I'm going to dry brush those all over the rock, and this is what the rock looks like when it's done. Then I'm going to start making gray paint and dry brushing that over top of the colors that we already did. So we want to start dark and move up slowly to a lighter gray. So now we're doing a lighter gray here. I know it doesn't look like it's lighter, but it actually is. And we're just going to dry brush, a little bit of overbrushing as well, and just build up our gray. And then we have some colors that are sort of underneath to make the rocks look a little bit more natural. Like, rocks have a lot of different colors. And yeah, now we're up to almost white, basically, is where we end up with our last dry brush. And then we're going to take some of that green paint that we had out and put it in our ponds. So just slam that in the pond area. And we're going to take some darker green, and we're going to take a sponge, because not everybody has an airbrush. I would rather have used the airbrush, but I want to use the sponge so you guys can do this at home if you don't have an airbrush. And we're just going to sponge that on. That'll give us our sort of blended edge and depth of everything that we want. And yeah, we can add a little black paint, make it a little deeper if we want, and start adding some glue. With that glue still wet, we'll start adding some of our homemade flock. This is moss that we put in the food processor and blended down, and it looks quite a bit more natural than the stuff that you can buy from Woodland Scenics, at least in my opinion. And then we'll take some of this clump foliage and start gluing down just, well, I guess they're clumps. Gluing down clumps of it. We can add some more glue here, just in some spots. I don't want to add it everywhere. And I've got a static grass applicator. You don't have to do this. You could just sprinkle static grass on, or ignore this part altogether and add it on. Now, this static grass applicator is not that great, so it's might as well just not have it. Tap it all off there, and yeah. We're going to add some more super glue here in little tiny spots and start adding some tufts that I have. Now, I want to kind of put these closer to the edge of where the water is going to be. Sort of like reeds or like a soaked plant, so it looks different than the other foliage on the pieces. I would like to one day get a really good static grass applicator, but right now this will do. Honestly, it's not that great. It was like $40 on Amazon. I think that if you're going to spend the money to get one, you probably want to spend the money to get a good one, because, yeah. This does it a little, what it's supposed to do, but not a lot. Okay, so we're going to take some 2-part resin next, and we're going to mix that together really good. You want to do equal parts of the resin. Mix it together as best as you can. Now, I know I said I wanted to keep this accessible, and I've already used a static grass applicator and resin, things that not everybody has. Static grass applicator, like I said, just sprinkle it on. It'll be fine. It's going to be pretty much the same as this. For the resin, you could use a thin layer of Mod Podge or multiple thin layers of Mod Podge, a thin layer of clear glue or multiple thin layers of clear glue. You can also get epoxy resin from the dollar store. It's a 2-part resin. You can pump it into a bowl, add a little bit, just a little bit of rubbing alcohol so you can mix it together and make it more fluid, and pour that in. I've had this resin sitting around for a while, so I just want to use it and get rid of it. But there are tons of options. Look up some more on YouTube and stuff. You'll find tons of options for water effects. Once it's mixed, I added in a little bit of algae green speed paint, and I mean a drop or two, and I'm going to start pouring in the resin. So what I want to do is pour in sort of like a puddle and then move it around, so that it, you know, I don't want to pour too much in, basically. I'd rather spread it around and then see if I have to add more. Man, I ended up not having to. So yeah, and resin's pretty cool. Just don't get it on yourself, and, you know, be careful. Then I'm going to take a lighter. Yeah, again, I'm going to pop all the bubbles that are in it. I'm trying not to light everything on fire here, so please be careful or get a parent to help you if you're not an adult doing this. Or just leave the bubbles, because they look fine too. It's a stagnant, weird pond. So because these are flat, they're going to be rather hard to film in my light box. So I'm going to give you a static picture of them finished. And then if you really want to see them finished, you can also check out Blastercated Playing, which is our playing channel where we're going to play a game of Harefoot Jousting. And these are going to be prominently featured. So please go and check that out. The link will be in the description below. So like I said, here they are all finished up. That's hardened now and very reflective and very stagnant, still pondish. And yeah, I'm very happy with how they turned out. They were a fun little project to do. So what do you guys think? Puddles, not too difficult. Rocks, not too difficult. They're just fun, quick projects you can do in a fairly quick amount of time. If you take out the drying time for that basing paste, you could ignore the basing paste and just put on sand instead, sand and glue. I just like to build up the land a little bit, and it happened to be very sunny and hot that day, so I was able to put them outside and they dried really fast. But yeah, I'm happy with how they turned out. Simple terrain projects are sometimes the best ones. And it's also a nice project if you're in a hobby slump. You can use this to get something done to kind of boost your motivation to continue on other projects. And as always, we want to thank our Patreon subscribers, Charming Grenade, Richie Fender, LK, Blaster Boy Mike, and Stuart Drake. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. And you guys have a great rest of your day.